I'm Judy Zelina. This is the Millcreek Government Channel. Children of all ages need a loving, stable, permanent family. At Family Services of Northwest Pennsylvania, they believe there is a family for every child, and it's their job to connect the two. Family Services is a licensed adoption and foster care agency. Joining us on the program to talk about adoption needs and requirements are Melissa Scobie. Melissa is the Permanency Supervisor, and Meredith Rodenbaugh. She is the Assistant Director and also the Pennsylvania Act 101 Authorized Representative. Ladies, thank you so much for being on the program. This is a very important subject.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Well, I love getting the word out, especially with Family Services, because you partner with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and I've had Paula Hayes on the program, so it's just natural that I get you ladies on here.
Well, thank you for having us.
First off, what I'd like to do is just let our viewers, most viewers are familiar with Family Services, but can you give us just a little brief background on the agency?
Okay. Family Services actually started in the 1800s with our adoption program. It's our longest continuous running program at the agency. We were looking to meet the needs of finding homes for babies that needed adopted. And then it expanded into serving the needs of the family to provide family stability. And now we offer mental health services, independent living services for teenagers who are in the child welfare system, home-based programs, school-based programs, so we're offering a lot of services in the community now.
You guys have really come a long way.
Yes, we have.
From back in the 1800s, we were talking about it, back in those times, I mean, there were orphanages.
Correct.
And the children were looking to be adopted. But you've recognized that there are needs that these children have, some disabilities, some learning issues, and you've worked with those, so you guys are great.
Thank you.
One thing I do want to talk about is I noticed when I was looking over your website, to me I always call it adoption, but your adoption department is now being referred to as a permanency department. Yeah, why the name change?
Basically, it's just to meet the needs of our continuing population. A lot of our children are looking at permanent homes, and therefore the need for permanency. If we don't just match up, children with just any old home, basically we're looking at that permanent forever home for them.
Okay, so it's almost like really a description of what you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah, instead of sometimes, just the adoption, you're looking for something stable, permanent, and just nice and warm and fuzzy for these poor kids.
Yeah, and we work to provide the children themselves some services during those transition periods to help them achieve the permanency too. So that's where the name change kind of took place to better reflect that.
Okay. Let's talk about some in regards to the children. Okay, how many children in Northwest Pennsylvania are in care and looking for adoptive parents?
Well, across Pennsylvania, there are currently 4,600 children with the goal of adoption. Some of those are already in identified adoptive homes, but many of them are not. So
okay, that's a lot of children.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yes.
So even here, just in Northwest Pennsylvania, we've got quite a few. So you really have your hands full.
Yes. Yes.
And a lot of those are just the children who have had their goal changed to adoption. So going through the court process, a lot of those are children who've had a goal change, and we're looking at the forever homes for them. Okay.
Now that would be something now there's the traditional adoption, correct? And that's where a private traditional adoption.
Right.
It's a little different than what you were just talking about.
Right. So traditionally when people think of adoption, they think of adopting the baby, maybe a mother who's during her pregnancy decided that she wanted to give up her child for adoption.
Right.
Generally the babies are then placed right from the hospital in the adoptive home. But that need has really decreased. We're not seeing that as much as the children who have been removed from their biological family and into the foster care system, who, for whatever reason, cannot be returned to their biological parents. And those are the ones that we really work hard to identify those permanent homes for.
What is, okay, what are the characteristics of a child that are in care?
Generally, they are older, 6 to 18. Actually, with some changes in recent laws, they can continue to stay in care up until they're 21 to get some additional supports as they transition into adulthood. So we do have children who are 18 who are still looking for their permanent home. They want that permanent connection to help them succeed as an adult.
And their age range, you said, was from 6 to...
That's the majority.
It had 18, pretty much then they're out of the system.
A lot of times they do sign themselves out of the system, but like I said, with the recent change in the laws, that more of the children are recognizing that they need those additional supports to continue into whether they're transitioning into the workforce or going on to higher education, that having that adult to go to when there's issues and concerns and how do I do this and help me get through the struggle that I'm having. So we're seeing more of the children willingly stay and get supportive services while continuing to look for that forever family.
Okay, so that brings me to my next question. These children, especially the older children, other than adoption, okay, looking for a permanent home, what are some of the other needs that they may be needing?
Well, one of the options that is also a possibility besides adoption is what's called permanent legal custody. So those older children can be with a family, and instead of the traditional adoption, the family has decided that they're going to become the custodial parent of them. That gives them full legal rights, but then maybe the child doesn't change their name, or they continue some more of those family connections who were not able to take them in, but they are still very important to the child. So there's other options, and then there's the supported independent living program, which is where we're seeing an increase because that's where they're still connected with an independent living worker as well as the Office of Children and Youth or county worker to support them as they transition.
So it's like a bridge.
It is.
Okay.
It is. It's like building a support system for them so
right.
that they successfully transition out instead of just aging out.
Okay.
And to answer some of the rest of your question as far as what the children need,
Right.
is picture your own children at 18 out on their own, having nobody to call if maybe their car would break down, how to get auto insurance, all of the typical things that as a parent we usually teach our children. And a 17 or 18-year-old that's just out on their own, has no forever family or no permanent resource for them, has basically nobody to be able to help them with all of those things. So sometimes with the older youth, it's a coach, mentoring type relationship as a parent to be able to help them kind of weave through all of those things. A lot of the, we would teach our own children if they were at home.
You guys think of everything. I mean, no, that's true. I would have never even given that a thought. They didn't have a chance
Right.
to have somebody show them or teach them, something like that. This is where you guys come into play. You do such a great job. I do want to talk now a little bit about recruiting families. First off, you keep talking about a forever home.
Yeah.
What exactly is a forever home?
A forever home is somebody who is willing to take in a child for the rest of their life. So there are those, as they get older, the child is not just going to, at 18, move out of their home. So it's welcoming them to be a permanent member of their family, where the permanency comes in. But basically, they're a household member in their home. They do activities with them. They do everything with them. And then looking at either the adoption aspect or the legal custodian aspect of it in the end.
What is the difference between adoption and legal custody?
Adoption is where the parents' rights have been terminated,
Okay.
so that child then becomes legally that person's child, as if they had their own biological child.
Okay.
So that would be the difference between that. Permanent legal custody is when our parents sometimes still have done enough in order to maintain their legal right as a parent, and then they cannot terminate the parental rights. So they can't do the adoption and be the legal home. However, they were going to make all of the decisions for the child in regards to that child being in their home.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. I wasn't quite sure, what the difference between the two things were. Now, all right, here's a question. What does this family or home look like? Are they all the same?
Oh, absolutely not.
No, I didn't think so.
We have single parents, we have long-term couples, we have the traditional mother-father homes, we have older parents who have already had their own biological children maybe go off to college, and now they're in that empty nest kind of thing, and they're like, oh, I have all this space in my house. We have families who have had their own biological children who then decide that they want to expand their family through adoption instead of having more biological children.
So there is no one stereotype and
No,
not
there's
one size
not.
fits all, right?
Not at all.
There is not.
So really, if somebody is thinking about adopting or giving a child a forever home, they can't say, well, maybe I'm too old, or, you know, I'm single, because those people, those individuals, they have a lot to give.
Yes,
They do.
they do. And we see a lot of that. We see a lot of successes with those people who've just decided, I need more in my family. And, you know, they open their homes, they open their hearts, they open their families. You know, the children become really a part of that. They're participating in all the holiday traditions and all of those things with the family.
Oh, I think that is so absolutely wonderful. Now, if someone is interested in becoming a forever home, who do they contact? They contact you guys?
Yes, they would call our office, and we would connect them with one of our permanency specialists who would meet with them, do an orientation and kind of explain the whole process, all of that. They have to complete training, which we provide. It's called Parents as Tender Healers, which is 33 hours worth of training. But it really helps the families get an idea of what the children's needs are, some of the struggles the families may encounter as they're going through, but then knowing that there's help and there's ways to get through any of those bumps that they may come across.
Okay, now, you do a family profile?
Yes.
Okay, what's involved in that? What is?
I'll let Melissa.
So with the family profile, basically we are going out and we're meeting with the family. We go to their home. We do a home inspection to ensure that it's meeting all of the safety standards of a home inspection. We're interviewing the family, making sure that this family is going to be able to meet the needs of a child. We're looking at whether they're physically able to meet the needs, whether they're emotionally able to meet the needs, as well as financially able. So there's a lot of paperwork that we end up collecting, and then our documents are basically on our end. We collect them, and usually it's around 25 pages by the time we end up writing everything. But it talks about the family's childhood. We're looking at whether they're going to be a really good match for a child.
Okay, now I wanted to ask you, how do you match? How does that work?
So how the matching works is once we have a family that we have gone through the approval process with, then we have child-specific recruiters who also on the child end are looking for a family. So basically we have meetings with them to be able to go over what the needs of the child are, what the strengths of this family is, to be able to match them. And then basically it's a slow introduction. So maybe the child may not even know that that's what's happening. They may just know that they're going out with their worker, and maybe they're going to go to the local McDonald's or some local event that's happening, meet a family. It's really no pressure then on the child, no disappointment on the end of the child, and then that family is being able to at least meet them, see them in their natural surroundings, you know, see how they are, to see whether that's going to be able to meet. If that ends up being a success, then what we'll do is organize more meetings, and then have hopefully progress to overnights in the home, and then having the child potentially move in with them.
Oh, okay, so there would be overnights before anything became permanent.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Boy, I think that's important too.
It is. It is extremely important for both the children and the family.
Exactly. So if I would come in, and once I go through, you get all of my information and you talk with me, you know, you're going to say, you and the advocate for the child, they're going to say, have we got a child for you? In other words, that's how you do it. You learn people's personalities and what the child is looking for too, and you mesh. Boy, that's how rewarding that would be. I think that's great.
It's also looking at what your strengths are and what you would like as well, because we do have a lot of families who are coming in and they're looking at maybe like a 6 to 10-year-old child, or some of them who absolutely are specializing in a teenager and are wanting that. So we'll also look at what you would like and trying to match up the age range that you would be interested in.
Okay. How long does a family have to wait? What is your average waiting period from the time they come in until something permanent can happen? Does it vary?
It really, really varies.
Or usually, what is it, like a ballpark? 6 months?
I think it really varies, and it's going to vary on the motivation of the family because, like I said, we have a lot of paperwork in order to complete.
Okay.
There's clearances that we obtain, so we do the various FBI clearances, state police clearances, child abuse clearances. Sometimes those take a while to come back, and then it also depends on how motivated they are to complete the trainings that we provide and the orientation. So, I mean, it can absolutely be a faster process. We've had some that have only taken 6 months. We've had some that are a longer process because the family's really making sure that this is what is for them.
Right.
So there are some of them that absolutely have taken longer.
Because it's a big change in their lifestyle.
It absolutely
No
is.
matter what. So it's quite a commitment. All right. What if I would come in to adopt? What kind of information are you going to need from me? What am I going to have to give? What kind of information?
It's a huge list. Things like the financial stability, so that is looking at what your current expenses are to your income to make sure that you're managing your money well and can maintain your housing. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have an income guideline for it.
Right.
It just means that we want to see that you're making your bills and you're living within your means
Okay.
and not risking losing your home or anything
Right.
like that. We do the background checks like Melissa was talking about, the safety features of your home. We ask for references, so we ask you to provide us with five people that you know well that can answer some questions about how they know you, how they think you parent, what your strengths are, maybe with some of your weaknesses, because we do look at weaknesses too. Because just because you have a weakness doesn't mean it's a bad thing, because we look at the strength then that goes with that. How are you overcoming
Right.
that? How have you managed to go through life with having some weaknesses? Anything else?
We look at how you can cope with various things, like what Meredith is saying. So how you've coped with your own grief and loss.
Okay.
How things have happened basically in your life that you've been able to overcome. Some of those things, like Meredith said, are truly strengths, because if you've suffered from your own losses in life, you're going to be able to better relate to the child who's suffered a lot of losses. Being removed from their home, the loss of their parents, different things like that, you're going to be able to better relate. So we get your story. We get your family story, whether your family is supportive of this, because family support is huge.
Yes.
Because sometimes what you're going through is often challenging at times, in just being able to have that family support. And by challenging, I mean that you're bringing a child into your home. It is very different than what you're used to. So having that self-care is very important. Having babysitters to be able to support you. Sometimes to ask friends and family for some parenting advice, because maybe there's some different things that you could try. So it doesn't mean that, looking at those supports is being able to have people that you can also rely on. So we look at that. We look at a person's physical health. So we ask people to have a physical. We also are asking for various legal documents from you, such as birth certificate, divorce decrees if you've been divorced. That's so that later for the adoption, we know that nobody else is then, liable in any way for the child or responsible.
So there's a lot more to it than just looking to see if you're financially able to
Yes.
take on a child.
Right.
A lot more,
A
right,
lot
ladies?
more. A lot
There
more.
is, and the nicest part is that all of our permanency specialists, this is their forte. So they're there to be able to help and guide you through the entire process. So we meet with the family, we help them through all of this. We have checklists to be able to kind of keep them on task in order to be able to gather all this paperwork. So they're really the person that's on your side to be able to help weave you through all of this. So
Okay.
you are definitely not alone. We hold your hand the entire way.
Well, that would be very nice. Okay, now I wanted to ask you, you do a home study. What is exactly included in a home study? You just looking to see how clean I keep my house?
Oh, no. So we gather a lot of background information on you. We'll look at if you already have children, getting some information about them, looking at your support system, like Melissa was saying, getting some information about your family, who you go to for your needs.
Okay.
Again, we talk about the strengths and your previous experiences dealing with struggles and how that gives us an idea of what your coping skills are, how you've accessed resources. A lot of the children that come into homes need a lot of support and resources in the community. So we kind of look to see how aware you are and anything that you've used in the past, because that kind of demonstrates that willingness to go above and beyond for the children.
And for the actual home part, what we're looking at is whether you have a smoke detector, whether you have a fire extinguisher, whether you can keep your medication locked up. We are not in anywhere there to judge your housekeeping skills.
Because it's a home study, so I just wanted to reassure people.
Yeah, and we
Right.
want a child to be able to feel comfortable in that home, to have it be a lived-in home is fine. So we're basically looking at all of those kind of things. As far as smoke detectors, working things, we require that the medications are locked up, just obviously for safety
Right.
reasons. And then looking to make sure that you have a bedroom for the child. So it can be a shared bedroom with a biological child as long as they are of the same sex and over the age of 5. And then we're looking at whether you have homeowners insurance or renters insurance.
Okay.
Then we're also looking at part of the actual home aspect of it is whether you have a car, whether it's inspected, whether you have auto insurance and it's registered.
Okay.
If you don't have a car, that's absolutely fine, because public transportation is also an option for our families.
But basically, you're looking to make sure the individual is responsible.
Yes.
That's the bottom line.
Yes.
Yeah.
I read something interesting, and I just wanted to run this past you guys. One of these things included in a home study, the expectations for the child. You look to see what their motivation is to
Yes.
adopt, correct?
Yes.
I never thought of it that way, that an individual would look at it expecting this child maybe to make miracles happen in their house or something like
Yeah.
that. So that's pretty important. So you go over all of that and you look at them and the reason why they wanted to adopt too.
Yes. Yeah, so we're looking at all of that as motivation factor, and being able to look at the various things of, yes, absolutely, of why are you wanting to have this child in your home? What is, some of the reasonings for that? So we're also looking, if it is a married couple, on the strength of that relationship, because there are different things of when you're introducing a new child into the home that is going to test some of those. Divide and conquer at times with a child, which we've all had with our own children, is being able to divide and conquer parents. And if these are parents that maybe are not accustomed to that and not used to that, that's something that we need to make sure that their marriage is also strengthened, and looking at those things. But yes, it's definitely, we're looking at, can they meet the expectations of the child and why they want to do this.
Because you want to make it right not only for the individual that wants to give a
Yes.
permanent home, but for the child too.
Absolutely.
Okay, our time is pretty much coming to an end, but I want, if you could briefly tell me some of your success stories.
Well, we're excited because on Halloween we are going to be witnessing an adoption of a 13 and 14-year-old girl. They have been with their adoptive family for approximately 15 months. Prior to that, they were in care for approximately 3 years. And this family that took them in actually has their own biological children, which are younger. So that's kind of a not common thing that people think of when they think of adoption. So it's just really, it's been a very heartwarming story for all of us at the agency, because we've seen the growth in the children, we've seen the growth in the family too, because if you're used to parenting a 5-year-old and now you have a 13-year-old, there's a big difference.
There certainly is.
Our permanency specialists working with that family through that adjustment to make them successful. So we're so excited about this adoption.
You guys do a great job. Briefly though, I can't believe we're at the end of it. I still have more questions, but I know the month of November is designated, November is
National Adoption Month.
What happens? Is it anything special, or is it just getting more awareness out?
It's getting more awareness out. It's a national campaign, and this year, again, they're focusing on the teens that need their forever families, and that they deserve a forever family. Across the country, there are approximately 428,000 children in care. 112,000 of those are waiting for their adoption a permanent family, and 43% are 15 to 18.
Wow.
Yeah, and in
That's
2015, only 5% of them were adopted or found their permanent
So
home. So
this-
that's a lot of children aging out without
is.
support.
It
So
is.
that's why we're trying to get that awareness out. And
Well, good. You guys do a great job. I'm so glad that you were able to come onto the program today. Again, I could have talked with these ladies for another hour, but viewers, I just want to let you know, if you are interested in anything for adoption or even legal guardianship, anything like that, to give them a call. What's the number that they should give you a call at?
they can call us at 866-4500 and ask for the permanency department.
Or you can even check anything out on their website. They have a really great website with different programs and just different ways people would be able to help you.
Yes, yes.
So, but anyhow, is there anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to touch on briefly?
I think just like Meredith said, of just stressing the importance of we are definitely looking for homes for these children. We have a number of children, and we honestly have a number of success stories also. So picking just one was actually difficult.
probably- yes,
there
I'm
are
sure
there
of
are a
it.
lot of successes that we have. I mean, it's a very successful program of being able to have these kids, but we are always looking for those families who are willing to open up their own homes and their own hearts for all of these children.
Well, I thank you very much, ladies. I really appreciate what you are doing. It's quite an accomplishment, very rewarding, and thank you for taking the time to come in and talk with our viewers about it. I really appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank
again
you.
for having us.
Viewers, if you have any questions, give them a call. Check out their website, and they have a Facebook page, which will keep you up to date on any event that they have going on. So thank you again for tuning into the Millcreek Government Channel, and until next time, have a wonderful day.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.